Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, a matter of personal privilege, please.
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, I have distributed to the desk of the members an article that was in Saturday's edition of the Roanoke paper. The article was written by Duncan Adams, and it discussed in detail Appalachian Power Company's recent filing with the SEC that showed its profits jumped by 27% when compared to 2008 and totaled $155.81 million. Mr. President, I suspect that there are very few businesses in Appalachian service region that enjoy that same increase in profit. And I know that most of the households in that district, rather than have an increase in income, have actually seen a decrease in income from 2008 to 2009. Mr. President, some are quoted as saying that this result shows that Virginia needs to revisit how it regulates investor-owned utilities. Dan Carson, speaking for Appalachian, says that it's a necessary return in order for folks to make investment in Appalachian. Mr. President, there were 4 rate increases filed by Appalachian in 2009. One of those rate increase hearings is still pending, and the decision hadn't been made on that, but 2 of those are compartmentalized hearings that are allowed under the legislation that was adopted in 2007. Mr. President, there are those who view this increase in return happening at a time when they think that it should not be happening. But whether you feel that way or not, there is on the horizon significant difficulties. I will call the attention to the Senate, a quote that Appalachian made in 2007, shortly after re-regulation was adopted. Appalachian at that time in their annual report said this: "The new legislation should result in significant positive effects on Appalachian's future earnings and cash flows. The bulk of the changes tied to 2007 law have not yet influenced Appalachian's earnings." Mr. President, make no mistake about it, it was pointed out and admitted in the floor debate that took place about re-regulation that the terms of re-regulation assure that consumers will be paying a higher price for electricity per kilowatt hour than they would be if full discretion in that issue were allowed to the State Corporation Commission. Mr. Chairman, in late January, Mike Morris, Appalachian's president and CEO, according to the article, and I think that's American Electric Power, I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, that American Electric Power is in the strongest financial shape coming out of 2009 than we've ever been. Mr. President, it appears that the only thing that is going to happen this session to deal with the consequences that Appalachian's rate increases are having on its consumers is the temporary relaxation of the 15% surcharge that Appalachian has been charging per kilowatt hour, subject to what the State Corporation Commission does. Mr. President, I am confident if you think about this, and I ask members of the Senate to read the article and think about it. The significant increases, and Appalachian has admitted, in the past 3 years their rates have gone up by more than 60%. We have not gotten to the stage where those rates are going to increase in the fashion that was talked about in the 2007 report, where it says the new legislation should result in significant positive effects on Appalachian's future earnings and cash flows. And that can only happen if there aren't significant rate increases on top of the better than 60% rate increase that Appalachian has enjoyed over the last 3 years. Mr. President, I can't tell you I know that the answer to it is, but I am confident part of the answer is this: we must return to the State Corporation Commission full discretion in its abilities to take action that help consumers. Mr. President, there's a lot of criticism that takes place from the people that I represent about the State Corporation Commission. But I would point out, and I think it's important to point out, that Appalachian has not been given the rate increase it sought by the State Corporation Commission. I think in every case, the State Corporation Commission has given less than Appalachian has asked for. The one that immediately comes to mind is the rate increase that Appalachian sought in 2006, a better than 24% rate increase, and when the State Corporation Commission ruled, the increase was lowered to less than 5%, Mr. President, and that's why there are at least a couple of us in the Senate that feel returning full discretion to the State Corporation Commission to look after customers' interest as well as the interest of Appalachian is essential. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator.